We might choose reading over sleep, other people, and the need to pee. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, YouTuber, and the author of the mystery novel Every Time He Dies. And happy October! For the whole month of October, I'm going to be doing what I did last year, where every video I'm going to be dressing up in a costume and have this little Halloween setup behind me. But in today's video, I want to talk about whether we think of writing as a habit or a hobby. So recently I was listening to a book podcast where the host described reading as their primary hobby. Now this actually really shocked me. The host makes money off their podcast thanks to their Patreon supporters, and they have to read books in order to talk about them on the show. So for me, well, that makes reading sound like it's a job. And yet, I loved that they, the person who gets paid to read, perceived reading as a hobby rather than a job. A hobby is something that we do for fun in our free time and often with a sense of curiosity. We might be beginners, novice, or masters. So for myself, I know that I really want my writing to be taken seriously, and I also want my reading to be taken seriously, even if what I'm reading isn't serious. So books about vampires, ghosts, fairies, or monster hunters, that sort of thing. Every day I know that I'm gonna brush my teeth, I'm gonna walk the dogs, do something related to writing, and read a book. In fact, reading is one of the items that I track on my daily habit tracker. I also keep a reading journal as a way to record and reflect on any of the books I've recently read. Writing and books are such a central part of my life that calling them a hobby feels kind of diminutive, or at the very least inaccurate. Perhaps for some of us, myself included, framing reading as a habit rather than a hobby is a way to sort of give it a little bit more credit. I want the people around me to recognize that reading and books are something that I value. I tend to be very protective of my reading time, and when I'm really deep into an amazing audiobook or paperback, it can be very difficult to convince me to participate in real life. Though I have to say, the bonus of audiobooks is that you can pretend to be tending to the administrations of life by scrubbing the shower or taking the dogs for a walk. But really, the reason why you're doing those things is so you can continue listening to your audiobook. To me, a hobby is something that you do every now and then, whereas a habit is something that you do often, perhaps even daily. So for many of us, myself included, I can't fall asleep unless I've read, even if it's just for a page or two. Now, according to Collins Dictionary, a habit is something that you find very difficult to stop doing. Hi everyone, Editing Tara here. So I just felt like the point I was making just then wasn't super clear, so I just wanted to clarify a little bit that reading has become so closely associated to sleep for me that if I don't read before I go to bed, then I find it really difficult to go to sleep and to switch off. So for this reason, reading really has become something that is very difficult to give up before I go to sleep. And in that way, it's become very much a daily habit, particularly at that time of day, even though, of course, I also read at other times of day. Okay, back to the video. So while I definitely don't see reading as a hobby, more as a habit, the problem I have with both of these terms is they lack the emotional charge I have around reading. I make my bed and I brush my teeth every day, and these are habits, but I don't feel anything about these habits. In many ways, I'm just doing it on autopilot. But I love books. I love reading, and I really value that activity. Describing my reading life as a habit or a hobby really fails to represent the love I have for literature. Perhaps it would be more accurate to describe reading as a passion. We feel compelled to read. We read with feeling, with enthusiasm and eagerness. We might choose reading over sleep, other people, and the need to pee. Books and writing are two of my favorite things to talk about. They are also just about the only topics I can talk to with any level of authority. I listen mostly to bookish podcasts, follow authors online, and have made a YouTube channel dedicated to the writing life, which also incidentally means the reading life. At this point, my relationships to book and writing probably sounds more like an obsession or an addiction. Wow, we are really going through all the labels in this video. But the difference between passion and addiction is whether or not it's an active barrier between you and your ability to participate in life. If you're addicted to reading, it's because you're using reading as a numbing device, in which case it's probably unlikely that you even recall what it is you've read in any meaningful level of detail. If you're reading every opportunity that you can get, again, that could be a sign that things have maybe become a little unhealthy. As much as I'm a proponent for reading in little sips and big gulps, it's also important that your brain have meaningful downtime and that it's not constantly stimulated by this external input from others. Now look, it really doesn't matter whether you think of reading as a habit, a hobby, a passion, or something else, but I think it's interesting to be aware of how you conceptualize this aspect of your life and how you perceive reading in a particular way, if for no other reason than to gain a deeper understanding of yourself and your priorities. Now I'd love to hear from you. How do you conceptualize reading? Is it a habit, a hobby, a passion, or something else? Please leave a comment below and please let me know. Now, if you'd like even more writing advice, you can of course check out the other videos on this channel, or you can go to taraeast.com and dive into the archives. While you're there, please consider joining my email newsletter. When you do, I'll send you a free gift. Plus, you'll get an email in your inbox every single Thursday morning, including a note by me, a quote of the week, links to that week's blog and video, as well as some other content that I only share via email. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Halloween, happy October. Now go and do some writing because the world actually does need more books.